Hello and welcome to Only Pans. Today we're doing gravy. So I started off with some butter. It's just been kind of melted, but while that's starting to brown a little bit, we're going to go over just a neat little process. So when you're done with your roast and you have the shit that's left in the pan, your oil, your fat, your oil and everything, if you add it onto a nice big container, dump a bunch of ice on top and just let it sit, the fat freezes and solidifies, leaving you with just juice, which is what you want. You don't want the fat mixed with the juice, because then your gravy will never reach a thick consistency, because you have more fat than you have flour. You get flour, all purpose. Basic. We're looking for a 1-to-1 ratio of flour to butter in the pan here. It's not really a science, it's more of a feeling. You could make it a science if you wanted. I don't. So we're just going to start with some flour. Right in. I'm going to go with 2 of these to start. So what you're looking for is kind of a texture thing. So as we get in there, you see how it's starting to kind of almost paste-like? That's kind of close to what I want. I want a little more flour in mine. So I like it to be a little thicker. I think the more flour you have, the more thickening power you have, and thickening is important. So that's the whole point. Doing this. Okay, so add some flour to it. Now the whole point is cooking your roux. So we're gonna kind of crank it about medium-high, because we don't want to wait forever for this to get done. See, I added a little too much flour. We're getting to that dough ball stage, which is okay, but not quite what I want. I'm gonna grab some of my disgusting beef fat here and add that in, and then once that melts, I'll probably be right back where we want. That's kind of what you want. You kind of want that, like, not quite balling up stage, but you don't want it sticking to the bottom. So when you move your whisk through, because you are going to want to whisk, that it kind of like peels up and sticks. It looks like loose cookie dough, which I know is not what everybody wants. So we're going to go ahead and cook this for a little bit, and we'll come back in a sec. Hello and welcome to Only Pans. Today we're doing gravy. So I started off with some butter. It's just been kind of melted, but while that's starting to brown a little bit, we're going to go over just a neat little process. So a couple of sips. This is kind of what you're looking for the flour. When it starts to brown like that, it looks a lot. You're looking for that color, not this color. And when it starts to brown like that, you kind of toast it off your flour. It starts to smell like cookies, and that's kind of where you're at with this. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it off the heat for a second. Now another thing that you really want to set yourself up for success is having a hot liquid. So I've been microwaving this for about 2 minutes. This is the liquid reserved from the pot with fat removed. That has to be hot. If it's not hot, that's when your gravy starts to seize and bad things happen. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of this at a time. It gets a little violent to start with. Keeps it moving. Add a little more. Just work it nice and quick. You gotta beat the hell out of it, so make sure you have no clumps. Nobody wants clumpy gravy. So you can see we're starting to build a gravy already. It is rather thick. So you beat the shit out of it until it gets nice and silky smooth. Again, I know we're still looking pretty thick, but we're just trying to work all that flour out so it's smooth. Okay. Add a little more. I'm just going to go ahead and add the rest of it at this point. I'm going to go easy here, otherwise you'll make a big mess and push it everywhere. Just work small circles in the middle. Alright. You can see it's got a nice consistency to it right now. It is a little on the liquid side, but I'm going to leave it over the heat for a bit. Because once it hits boil with the flour and the butter, it will thicken up a bit. And it's rather thin right now because it's hot. So I'm a big fan of Guinness in everything. So I add a little bit of that to my gravy, a little bit of that to myself after, and then we're gonna kind of whip it up. Just slip it back over the heat for a bit. But that's pretty much it. At this point, you could serve that and be happy. Taste at this point is big because the flour and the butter are very white ingredients. They're not a lot of flavor, and they will mute things like salt and herbs. So you want to add a little bit of salt, add a little bit of herbs, add a little bit of whatever makes you happy. Just as long as you taste it and you enjoy it, that's it. But that's gravy. That's the same for every gravy. That's the same for every flavor, I guess. Same thing with turkey stock. You just got to make sure you brown your roux. If you find you don't have enough roux, so like for me that's a little thin, but I'll add a little bit of flour after. It'll be just fine. So yeah, build your roux 1-to-1. Brown it, add hot liquid to it, and when you're in that like thick stage where you haven't really started to thin it out into a full sauce yet, beat the tar out of it, because the better you beat it, the less likely you are for it to break. But that's gravy. Thanks for watching OnlyPants. So a couple of tips. This is kind of what you're looking for the flour.